Hi, welcome to another episode of Leaving the Lies and Telling Your Truth. As you're watching us on our YouTube channel today, I ask that you like, share, and subscribe to our page, and then head on over to our Facebook page, which is also called Leaving the Lies and Telling Your Truth. That is where we also tell about upcoming interviews and post information and quotes that are inspiring. I would like to welcome our guest today, Norah Arsamont. How are you, Norah?
Hi, I'm doing good. How are you?
Good, thank you. I'm excited for today, Norah. Thank you so much for wanting to share your story, and thank you so much for coming to us. As always, my beautiful and red co-host, Melody. How are you today, Melody?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you, Mel. Mel, you want to go ahead and get us started?
Yes, we're going to do something a little bit different today. Menorah kind of wanted a more relaxed, kind of free-flowing interview, so it's not going to be quite as structured as we normally have it, which I think will go quite well because Menorah's got a very outgoing, very friendly personality. She's very easy about telling her story, and she wants to share her story. So we're going to kind of just start off by we actually do. Go ahead.
Hence why Melody and Menorah look absolutely beautiful. And I'm here in my hoodie with my hair up because I thought, oh, it's going to be group chat. Let me match the mood. And these two beauty queens over here. So don't judge me. I can't help how beautiful the people I'm working with today are.
Hey, you look super cute in your very relaxed outfit. I actually really do like your hair that way. It's very cute.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
I kind of wish I was more relaxed.
Can we go change into hoodies?
No way, man, no way. I'm going to own this one.
Okay, so Menorah, we'll start out because we actually do know, and we'll just start out by saying that you were born and raised in the House of Yahweh until you left. So we're going to let you start your story from there. You can start from wherever you're most comfortable.
Okay. Sorry.
That's okay.
It's good. We're chit-chatting.
Yeah. So I was born and raised. I left when I was 11, about to be 12, about 2 months shy of my 12th birthday. I kind of grew up with the multiple marriage scene going on. So I, had two moms. And it was difficult as a child. It was a little confusing as a child, but it was my normal,
Right.
It was like, I don't even know how to explain it, but just you almost think that you came from both moms and your dad. It was like that's just how it was. I don't know. It was confusing. I remember telling a friend one time that I got my certain type of hair from my second mom, and she was like, that's a little confusing, what, like, that's not possible. And I was like, no, like, I'm from her and I'm from my mom and my dad, like all of us, we're all together. And
but you were born into a multiple marriage, so she didn't happen upon you or anything. You were just kind of born into it, correct?
Right.
So you knew the other wife since day one.
Right. She was there from the beginning. I think even when my mom gave birth, she was there too. So it was like just straight from the beginning.
Oh,
right.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it was all I knew growing up. And then we would, I'd go to her house, she'd come to our house, just like a huge, one big family. It was cool to me.
Right.
I always it was my normal,
Did she have children?
Yeah. She had two boys, which were my two older brothers. So that was cool to have my older brothers always look out for me and watch over me, teach me all the cool stuff.
Gotcha. So you guys are still close, or?
Yes, actually. One of my brothers. The other brother's still there. In the House of Yahweh, but my other brother did get the courage to leave, so we're pretty close. it's nice because we weren't really that close. Like I was actually closer with my other brother, and then whenever
Mm,
my other brother left, we got close, and so it's actually been really nice.
It's good.
good.
Yeah.
That
Maybe
is very
one
good.
day all of you guys can reunite and be close again.
Yeah, I hope so. I see him often, but not in person. Kind of just driving around town.
Yeah. Menorah, what was it like? Did you go to school? What was your education like?
No. So it was actually more of like you kind of did what you wanted, but you had to do like their type of teachings for school. So instead of doing the normal, math, history, just normal school math or school, it was,
Right.
peaceful solution books, which is their teachings on um, the pagan holidays, why we don't celebrate Christmas and Halloween, and how pagan it is, and try to put so much fear into you. It's like about uh, let's say what was it the holidays, the birthdays, anything sexual. It was all teaching you about that. And then on Saturdays they would do sermons, and they would make you actually listen to those during the week, and you would take notes during the week. And that was kind of our schooling as well. So it was kind of mostly just you went to services and then you went home and you kind of did that again, just repeating stuff throughout the week. So it's, indoctrinated into your head. And
Right.
then when we would go home and do all of that after, we would also, my mom would do a little bit of normal school with us. Writing, reading, just kind of the main basics. And then, some basic math. And so I did get a little bit of that, but it's not pushed. It's not something that you need. You
Right.
need to know more of the teachings so you can, make it into the kingdom and work with the house, like, work for them and know what their teachings are so you can be a teacher.
And how did that affect you, Menorah, when you actually left and when you were old enough to go out into the world on your own? How did that affect your ability to move on with your life and do the things that you needed to do?
Oh yeah, it was definitely an eye opener for sure. I was really young, so whenever I left, I didn't really know what was going on, first of all. So I was just like, wow, we're out in the world, like we can do things. And then it was kind of like, but then I'm like really scared because, they teach you, you go to a store and you touch a shopping cart and you touch it, you're going to get like some type of disease. Or you sit somewhere, you sit on a toilet, you sit on a bench, you're going to catch some type of disease. So it really freaked you out, going
What
out
what
into
kind
the
of
world.
disease were they saying?
STDs, they're very, very pushy with the STDs. I mean, they even had a wall in the back of the sanctuary with pictures blown up of, genitals with STDs all over them.
Wow.
It was horrifying to look at. So you go out into the world and you think, that's going to happen to me if I do anything like, you don't kiss someone, you don't do anything.
Right.
So getting a boyfriend even was like, I'm scared, it's like,
Yeah.
I remember thinking, don't touch me.
Yeah, that would be terrifying. So,
Yeah.
has that is that something that you feel that you've worked through? Are you better about that? Like when you're in public places, is that something that you don't really think about as much anymore?
Yeah, it's taken a long time, but I am a little bit more kind of normal to things where I just go in the store and I'm doing what I have to do. But then there is times where I might see something and then it's like a flashback and I'm like, oh my gosh, or when some sickness comes out and I'm just like, oh
Like
my gosh, it just kind of gives you like a unsettling feeling.
like a trigger, yeah. Definitely.
Right, yeah, like that.
Yeah, it's
So,
So
almost
COVID
like
had
a
to have
PS
been,
what do you call that? Post traumatic stress.
right.
yeah. So COVID had to have, I mean, almost just set you into a panic then.
Oh yeah. I think every time anything comes out, it's like you just start freaking out because I mean, it's like not that I'm so stressed about it, but it is like a little bit deep inside me where it's like, I really hope this isn't it, like I hope this isn't the time that I'm gonna like die and like go to hell or something. I don't know. It just like
No, I had a little bit of a panic with COVID too. I'm pretty strict about my I'm still strict about my social distancing because I feel like they don't know enough about it yet. But that's just me. But I'm sure some of that is residual from the House of Yahweh. I do believe that.
right.
Some of my extreme reaction.
Yeah, oh yeah. And I mean I actually set up with a group with some women that have been in the House of Yahweh that have left just for support to know, am I the only one triggering like this?
Yeah.
Right.
So I get it. I completely get it. Can you talk about your childhood a little bit? Anything happen? Anything take place? Was it normal?
So growing up in the House of Yahweh was definitely different. I don't think I've met anyone else that's grown up like, well, besides my friends, that have been there, but I don't think I've ever met anyone that has gone through, not having a normal childhood, like not watching movies, no cartoons, no family time. And it's not just the family time, it's like, not even knowing your cousins besides seeing them at services once a week. Or, you don't know your uncles because they're male. In the House of Yahweh, it's very frowned upon to, as a girl, to be around any male family members. I mean, they consider it as sexual, like you shouldn't hang around a male at all, even if it's your cousin or even if it's your uncle, because you never know what they might do. They used to always say like Uncle Bob or Uncle so and so. They're always the creepy uncle. So then it makes you start to put like a persona on, like, well, is my uncle like that? Like, then it kind of makes you have to, like, as a child, step back and kind of think like, well, he just did that. Like, did he mean to like do that? Or, your cousin as a man, as a boy, he, may have just grabbed my shoulder and it's like, oh my gosh, just little triggers like that because of how they teach.
Right.
It's not allowed. And then,
So have you been able to kind of repair those relationships with those extended family members since you've been out?
Some, yes. It has been a little difficult just because we have missed out on so much with each other that it's like we're almost adults coming together
Right.
now. It's not like, remember back in the day. I mean, there are a few moments, but it's not like it could have been better. I could have
Right.
had so many more memories with my cousins and my extended family. I mean, even my dad's side, I don't know really any of my dad's side of the family because they weren't in the House of Yahweh.
Right.
And that's obviously frowned upon because they don't believe what we believe. So they were, you know, kind of cast aside. You don't talk to them.
Right.
So even today, I honestly really don't know any of my dad's side. I know maybe a handful, and that's it. Yeah.
Wow. Now, do you know if your father has spoken about you to his family?
I think so. Um, I know he has, but it's not like we haven't really hung out, It's kind of like, yeah, I have 5 kids and this and that, and we left a cult, and but I'm not sure that it's really gone further than that. I've met a few of his sisters, and it kind of just was like, wow, hey, and then kind of went on. But maybe one day something will happen where we'll all be together and close again. Yeah.
Understandable.
So Menorah, can you kind of walk us through like what it was like, what the process of was when you left the House of Yahweh, how that was for your family, and what you had to go through?
Yeah. So when we first left, we actually we didn't even stay in the country really. We kind of like went to a whole new country. Um, yeah, because at the time there was just a bunch of things going on, and my dad had previously been to the Philippines actually, doing like some missionary work and things like that. So we actually went there, and it was a huge wake up call. I mean, you go from like living in our little bubble to like a whole foreign country. So it was definitely
Culture shock.
Yeah. And then, as a child, I'm like, wow, like we can do things now. Like we've left. And it wasn't like that at all. I think a lot of people think that we left and it was like we just went wild and did whatever, and we just were normal all of a sudden. But it took years and years, for my parents specifically, to move past the teaching. So growing up outside of the House of Yahweh was almost like we were still in the House of Yahweh, but just not there. Like we still would tune into sermons online. We would still, follow the Book of Yahweh, which is, their type of, what is it, like their translated Bible, their
Right.
version.
Their translation, yep.
Yeah. And we would keep feasts. We would do it our way, like, at our house.
Right.
So yeah, it was definitely difficult knowing that we had, things at our reach, but we couldn't do it because my parents specifically were still in that.
They were still indoctrinated, and it took time for them to work their way out of that.
Right. So yeah, I just remember always wishing I couldn't wait to go to school. And that was my one thing. I just wanted friends, and I wanted to go to school and go to prom and just have that lifestyle. And I never got it because, my parents were just still headstrong on the no public school. No. And if I did go to public school, I think the main thing, it wasn't necessarily the schooling. It was more of like I'm going to change my religion. If I go to school, I'm not going to want to keep Sabbath anymore. I'm not going to want to keep feasts anymore. I'm going to want to do Christmas, and I'm going to want to do basketball games on Friday nights. And I couldn't because of Sabbath. So I think that was probably one of the big things.
Well, you can see I'm doing my Christmas thing back here.
I love it. I think it looks beautiful.
Now, Menorah, do you do Christmas and stuff now?
Yes. Yeah, I'm complete 180.
Well, I can tell you I did not put a Christmas tree in my house until I think the first time was about 4 years ago. And I left in 1994.
Wow.
So
it's even taking you a little bit. So
yeah, the Christmas thing was one of the hardest things for me. And I still don't really eat pork, but I've tried and I just don't care for it, and it doesn't react well to my system. So there's other reasons why I don't do that, but I still hold on to some of the teachings.
Right. Yeah. That's one thing about having my son. I want to definitely make sure he has the best childhood, and he can celebrate the holidays and have a great, just have such an, I don't know. I just wanted that as a child. So I want him to have everything that I didn't have. So I definitely try to make sure he has the most and the best.
I understand.
Yeah, that's pretty normal. Most people do that. Whatever you didn't get as a child, you want to make sure your kids have that.
Yeah, he definitely does.
Hey, Menorah, I'm just going to bring this up, and you can say we can move on or whatever. You shared with us some of the points during your childhood where you were being trained to be in Yeshua Hawkins' family. What kind of interaction did you have? What kind of training was it?
Yeah, so that one's actually the one that's probably stuck with me the longest.
I imagine.
Yeah. So yeah, whenever I was younger, I guess I'll just kind of start from the beginning and go into it. Whenever I was younger, I was probably around 8 years old, and I always saw a couple of girls that were semi older than me, but not super older, maybe like in their teens. And I would always just be like, wow, they are so beautiful, wearing their pretty dresses and their beautiful skirts. And, they just had this like persona, I guess, that was just like, oh, I want to do that. I want to look like her. And, in his office, he had an office that was in the sanctuary that was like off. No one knew really what was in it. You go through a secret door, and it was like, what's in there? Like if someone opened it, you were trying to catch a peek in there. And I just always remember thinking like, oh my gosh, like what's in there? That is so cool. And also you just get the, when they teach you, it's, you want to marry an elder or the overseer is what they would say, because you're going to make it into the kingdom, you're going to be in his family, you know, you're going to be saved like pretty much right there. That's your ticket pretty much. And so I just remember thinking like all of that, and then, you know, plus I want to be saved and in the kingdom and everything. So my dad actually was an elder, and he had went up to Yisrael and asked him, you know, my daughter really wants to, I'm not really sure, but I'm assuming it was something, you know, like she wants to go in your office and help out or something.
Right.
So one Sabbath, they said, all right.
Hold on just a minute, Norah. Let's just clarify. You at this point were how old?
8.
Okay.
Okay, so for 8 years of your life, every day, day in and day out, it's, let me see if I'm getting this right. So I have a granddaughter. She's 4. She wants to be a Disney princess. More than anything, she wants to be a Disney princess because they live in castles. They have, you know, all these pretty dresses, and they have special things. So people that are watching this can liken it to basically being with an elder, or Yisrael was like being a princess. Yes. It was the awe of Oz, and you were taught this day in and day out. So it's not like you were doing anything wrong. Right. It was your lifestyle and how you were being taught.
Exactly. It was almost a normal type.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. I mean, I'm sure people are going to be like 8 years old, like what? And I would definitely say the same thing. But when you come from that, it's like almost like that's horrible. But I don't, you know, question it. That sounds about right, you know?
Right.
But yeah, that's a perfect example though, because that is exactly how I see it as a little girl. you know, that he has the nice, beautiful houses, and yeah, definitely. So, yeah, one Sabbath, they were like, yeah, just come right through the door and you're going to hang out in his office for a little bit. And one of his wives greeted me, and she was like, okay, the first thing I'm going to tell you right now, though, is you are not allowed to tell anyone what goes on in this office. You're not allowed to tell your parents, even if your life depends on it. Like, no one can know what you're going to be doing in here. And I just remember thinking, like, what? Like, okay, like, whatever, you know, like.
Right.
I was just kind of like shocked. So, whatever.
You just want to see Cinderella's castle.
Yeah, I was just
She's
like.
She's not going to agree to anything.
I just want to see the Barbie dream house, okay? I'm just here for the Barbie dream house.
Yes, I was just like, whatever I have to get, let's go. So yeah, so that happened.
That's
and then
funny.
I kind of just went from picking up things around the office, just random papers or whatever, and then I started serving coffee for him. I would actually make his coffee and serve it to him. And then I started cleaning up after Sabbath lunch. After all the wives, I would clean up everything. I started ironing his clothes. They actually had me iron his underwear at one point.
Wow.
Which I thought was really weird, because who irons underwear?
Yeah, that's, yeah.
And then, like, secondly, it's a man's underwear, so it was really weird.
Right, you weren't even allowed to talk to your uncles, and now here you are ironing this man's underwear.
Exactly.
And where was he while you were ironing his underwear?
Actually, right across from me, laying on his bed, sitting on his bed. Yeah, so he would be sitting on his bed watching the news, and I would be like kind of across from him with the ironing board, just sitting there ironing his underwear and his socks and his shirts.
Wow.
And like everything. It was like the tedious. I just remember thinking, well, dang, I just throw mine in a drawer, and now I need to start ironing mine.
Right.
Like, what is this? Am I missing out on something?
So were other people helping you clean up from lunch and from Sabbath meal? I mean, how many people were there?
I wouldn't say everyone. There was probably, at the time when I was there, I mean, he had at least 60 wives when I was there. I remember counting and then like having to keep on like recounting, because I would like lose, and I would always like be at 60, and then someone else would walk in and I'd be like, oh, dang, okay. So I always just say 60 because I can't even go past, I could never count past there. And as a child, I mean, I could barely count as it is. So yeah, no one really helped. I mean, there was a few that would come in from the cafeteria and they would come and clean up after. But for the most part, they would eat and then they would go and work after or go take care of their babies after.
Mm-hmm.
So I was kind of left with some of the older women from the cafeteria that would come and I would help. And then I would just kind of sit around with some of his children and go over like peaceful solution stuff. Just kind of like Sabbath stuff where it's like we would color some of like their pictures that they would like kind of, they had their own coloring books kind of where it would be like Yisrael and then it would have like a little scripture and you would color that or something. But that was pretty much it for that.
So I don't even know if I want to ask this. I really think, I mean, I don't know. Tell me, correct me if I'm wrong. Was he like, were they like almost, give me the word here, Melody. Were they almost,
well, did you have any other direct contact
grooming
with him? Grooming, yes. Yes, that does sound grooming like, yes.
Yes.
I would agree.
Yes. So at first I thought, I was kind of, like I kind of had an initial where I kind of may have thought, this may go somewhere, like somewhere else, something serious maybe eventually or like way down the line.
Right.
But I really just thought I was in there kind of hanging out. And then he had came out, or someone had came out, I think it was him, that had came out with a rule or like a law that was no camera phones allowed. So, and that was like a whole new cool thing back then with the flip phones. We had a camera on it.
Right.
And I had asked my dad, I was like, am I going to have to get a new phone or like, because I have a camera phone. And he was like, well, you're just going to have to ask Israel if you can keep your phone. Because I mean, I can't do that right now. So I was like, okay. So I was like nervous. I'm like freaking out. So one Sabbath I go in and he has his desk is like a big giant like desk in the middle of a room, and you would come from the side to greet him. You wouldn't come from like to talk at the desk. You would come to the side. So I remember standing at the side, and there was probably like 2 or 3 wives ahead of me. So I stood there and waited, and finally it was my turn, and he kind of like grabbed my hand and like kind of brought me a little closer, and I just remember freaking out, and I was just like, and he's like, what can I do for you? And I was like, you have the new rule with the camera phone, and I have a camera phone, so I was just wanting to see if I could keep it. And it went along the lines of like, oh, well, do you like to take pictures? And I was like, yeah, I like to take pictures. And he was like, okay, well, I actually need a personal photographer. And I was like, oh, okay. And he was like, I travel to Israel, the land of Israel all the time. And I'm traveling all the time and I need someone to take pictures for me. And I was like, oh, okay. And he's like, so next time I go, you're going to come with me. And it was like, I had no choice. It was like, you're coming with me. And I was like,
oh, he didn't pose it as a question.
Yeah, no, it was like, you're coming. Yeah, for sure. And I was like, and at that moment I was thinking, well, I don't like taking pictures that much. Like, I'm not leaving my mom. Like, I just remember thinking, I cannot leave my mom and go to another country with you. Like, so I remember telling him, well, I think my mom would like that because I don't know, my mom did like taking photos as well. But like, I just remember thinking like, I am not doing that. I cannot leave my mom. So I told him that. And so then right after that, he goes, well, let's take a picture. And I was like, oh, okay. Okay. Like, and I'm thinking like the overseer wants to take a photo with me. Like at first I was kind of, wow, like this is like a special moment. Right. And then I was kind of like, and then he, so he grabs my hand. He's kind of holding it a little bit for a minute, like kind of just sitting there like this, holding my hand. And I was kind of like this. And then he like, well, get up here and get up on my lap and we'll take a picture. And I was like, okay. So I get up on his lap and he's like, well, how do you figure out this phone? Like, how do you do it? So I told him, you flip the camera this way and you have to press the button. So we took a picture, and I just remember him getting so close to my cheek that I could literally feel him like on my cheek. Well, it was on this side. And I was just like this. And I was like, this isn't right. Like, I just felt like when you touch another man, even as a child growing up, knowing, you don't touch your uncle, you don't touch your cousin. And that happened. I just felt so uncomfortable. Like, getting on his lap was already uncomfortable, but like the touch was really what sold it to make it like, no, this is definitely not right. And then I took one more photo because we looked at the photo, and he was like, it's blurry. And I'm like, okay, take another one. So we took another one. He's like, you know what, Norah? I'm going to let you keep your phone. And I was like, okay. Like, it was like weird because we just went through this whole little session about whatever, about taking photos and this. And then it was kind of like, I didn't think he was really going to let me have my phone at first. I don't know. I just remember thinking that. And then, I'm going to let you have your phone. And I was like, oh, okay. And I just remember immediately that I was so uncomfortable. Immediately, I ran to one of his restrooms in the office and deleted the photos immediately. And I remember like taking, they had some soap. I don't know if y'all remember the soap they used to make.
The goat soap?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what it was. And I just remember taking that and like wiping my face with it, wiping like my hands. Like, I just felt so dirty. Wow. And yeah, I never told anyone that happened until I would say after I left. I finally.
Wow. So
wow.
Did you continue to go and see him after that?
Right. So yeah, after that, I kind of kept my distance. I kind of was guarded a little more.
Right.
Because it was ironing the underwear. It was just many things that I felt overwhelmed as an 8-year-old, and right. It just didn't feel right. And I also wasn't allowed to leave the grounds. So we all lived on the 44, which is their little area, through the gate. And I wasn't allowed to leave there ever. Like, not even my parents would take me off there. It was very rare. And one of his wives said, we're going to go somewhere. I don't remember exactly. And we ended up going to one of his houses. And it was me and 2 other of his wives that are his wives now, which they were kind of being courted. Like, what is it?
Courted?
Yeah, there you go.
Or betrothed.
Right, yeah. And so we were all kind of fresh and, wondering what's going on. And they go, okay, yeah, so you're going to look through the house and pick your rooms. This is going to be y'all's house. Y'all are all going to live here. And I just remember being like, what? We're moving out of our houses now? Like, wow. So I remember going, we looked through some rooms, and, one of the girls was like, I like this one. And I was like, well, I like this one. And, it was kind of like a fun thing, but it was still a little like, what? And so, I remember that, and then I actually walked into one room, and I walked in, and I kind of like didn't really open the door all the way. I kind of just looked in, and there was a desk full of little old TV monitors. I don't know if y'all remember the little box TVs.
Yeah.
Just lined up on this desk, like probably like 4 or 5 of them. And Yisrael was sitting at the desk looking at these little TV monitors, and I was like peeked in, and sorry, like I wasn't even expecting him to be
there. So it was like a
surveillance
room.
Yes. And he goes, no, come in. And he like didn't care, or if I was young and maybe I wasn't going to tell anyone, I don't know. But he was like, yeah, this is the security system area, and kind of just showed me how every single room had a camera in it. Even the bathroom had a camera in it. And he said, oh, wow. Yeah, this is for protection. And I just remember freaking out, like, what? There's cameras in here? So every time I went back, like after we left there, I'm not sure, I don't really remember what happened after that. We went back to the sanctuary, back to his office. And I remember thinking, I am never using the restroom in here ever again. Like, I just was so freaked out. I'm like, I bet his office has a camera. I bet the whole sanctuary's rigged with cameras. Like, I just started freaking out. So we wore skirts and dresses all the time. And I remember going to the restroom and putting my whole skirt over the toilet and like never showing anything, because if I had to go, I would do that, because I'm like, he probably is watching all of these. And you can't see them, you know, they're secret cameras. But I'm like, you know, he's probably somehow got some type of secret thing.
So, Menorah, okay, back this up a little bit. I'm sorry,
Okay.
Mel.
No,
I've had a
actually,
million
whatever you're going to
questions
ask it, and then we're going to have her answer it on the next session, because we're down to 3 minutes. So we'll do a little hook again.
Okay. So, Menorah, here's my question. Or actually, I want a statement for this to make sure I hear this right. You were 8 years old. You were told by the wife the very first day out, you cannot say anything, not even to your parents, correct?
Correct.
You were taken to this house, told to pick out your room. Were you reminded not to tell your parents? Don't answer that.
Yeah. Don't answer that yet. So we're going to come right back with a part 2. So if you want to hear Menorah's answer to that question, stay with us.